The iPhone 12 has arrived and it has some great new features. One of the most exciting features is that it now comes in a mini. So let's talk about that new iPhone 12 mini. Let's get one thing out of the way. The iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 mini are essentially the same phone. So most everything that I tell you in this video applies to both devices in case you are deciding between the two, unless I specify otherwise. Let's start with the obvious though, the size. In a world of massive phone screens, the iPhone 12 mini has come to break the mold. Well, I guess technically it's to shrink it, but you know what I mean. It has a 5.4-inch screen, and that's compared to the 6.1-inch screen of the iPhone 12. And now if you want to go to the other end of the spectrum, you have the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is 6.7 inches. So yeah, this one's kind of tiny in comparison. If you're having a hard time picturing what this looks like, well, just think back to the iPhone 5S or the original iPhone SE, because it's essentially the same phone. In fact, it even has the same design with those flat edges, but now it has glass on the back, 2 lenses, and of course, all screen, meaning no bezels, no Touch ID. All beautiful OLED screen on the front of this phone. In fact, all of Apple's new iPhone 12 lineup has OLED displays, which is great. Now, I get that if you're watching this video from the screen of your phone, the idea of going down to a smaller screen may not be as appealing as I'm making it sound, but it's just exciting to think about having a truly one-handed operation on a phone. And I know that reachability exists and all that kind of stuff, but it's not the same. I just want to be able to control my phone with one hand, and also you have the portability situation, which finding small pockets, it's hard. Now, beyond the size, there's the fact that all these phones are 5G ready, yes, even the mini. Now, whether or not the world is ready for 5G, well, that's a totally different and more complex question that I won't get into in this video, but it is comforting to know that you're buying a phone that will stand the test of time once 5G does become more widespread. In fact, some of you may already have it available as we speak, and when it does become available, it will be speedy. Now, speaking of standing the test of time, these phones are built to last. Now, they have dust and water resistance, better scratch resistance, better drop resistance, but Apple says they're really drop resistance. How? Well, they've added something called a ceramic shield, which sounds really fancy and kind of confusing because ceramic, yes, is more durable than glass, but it's also not transparent. So I guess that's the perk of having the relationship with Corning, the glass manufacturer, because somehow they managed to make a clear ceramic covering to protect the glass on this phone. Now, obviously, it's still glass, so it probably will break, but Apple says that it's 4 times more drop resistant than the previous generation, which is the iPhone 11, which was pretty good at holding up to drops, at least in our previous drop test. And it's the biggest year-to-year improvement in durability of any iPhone. Needless to say, guys, I am so excited to test this out. And I will. Trust me. Now, in terms of the camera, the setup is not all that different from last year's iPhone 11. It still has the 2 lenses on the back, wide angle and ultra wide angle, no telephoto lens on this one, except this time it has night mode on both lenses. In fact, it has night mode on the front camera and night mode for video. Needless to say, you will be able to use this camera in low light conditions for just about anything, even portrait mode. Now, it's also got some changes in the way that it's processing the video and the photos. It has Apple's computational photography called Deep Fusion and HDR3 and Dolby Vision, which is basically Dolby's version of HDR for video, which is almost movie quality. So basically for you, what that means is that you will have what looks like professionally edited photography and videos straight from your iPhone. Now, this is obviously what Apple says, and we still have to run our own test to be sure, so stay tuned for that. And it's just nice that it's doing all of this in the background, thanks to that lovely processor, the A14 Bionic chip. And all of the iPhone 12 models have the same processor. So yeah, you will have to splurge for some of the more advanced camera features like the LiDAR sensor or the 4x zoom, but essentially even the small mini has the same processing power, so don't be fooled by the tiny size. Now, one of the downsides of having a smaller phone is that you have a smaller battery. Now, Apple doesn't disclose the exact size of the batteries of their devices, but they do say that we can expect about 15 hours of video playback on the iPhone 12 mini. That's compared to 17 hours of video playback on the traditional iPhone 12, which is the exact same amount of time that you would get on the iPhone 11 from last year. So there's that. Then you have the whole issue of pricing. So the $699 base price of the iPhone 12 mini is the exact same as last year's iPhone 11, meaning you don't get a discount for the smaller screen. In fact, if you want that larger 6.1-inch display, you have to pay $100 more, so $799. And then you might also want to check the website when you're buying the phone because not all carriers are priced equally. In fact, with some, you may end up paying $729 instead of $699. And there's also the fact that the cables, so the charging cable, the charging brick, and the earphones are no longer included in the box. So if you haven't purchased an iPhone recently, or if you don't have those cables lying around the house, you will have to include that in your purchase. So not cheap. Lastly, you're going to have to wait longer to get the mini, because unlike the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro, which arrive on October 23, the mini and the 12 Pro Max don't arrive until November 13th. So yeah, that's a 3-week difference, but if your iPhone is on its last leg or decided to die this week, timing might be an issue for you. Ultimately though, the addition of the mini is a very good thing, because it just means more options to choose from when it comes to buying an iPhone, and that, in my book, is a good thing. But enough about me. I want to hear what you guys thought of the iPhone 12 mini and the entire iPhone 12 lineup, so sound off on the comment section below, and also go check out all our coverage of the Apple event, including Patrick's take on the iPhone 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. And also, check back with us in the coming weeks, because you know that we will be doing a lot of fun tests on these new iPhones. Until then, I'll see you next time.